Oh man, does it feel nice to be back on this motorcycle. I've actually had it in the shop for quite a while. I figured today what we'll do is I'll ride around and I'll explain to you guys how I installed the Fender Eliminator, the integrated turn signals, and of course the relay so that it flashes properly and doesn't look ridiculous. But I will say that the job at first seemed like quite a bit, but after doing it, it was pretty dang easy. So I figure I'll start off with like the things you actually have to take off the motorcycle, which are going to be these seats, this little plastic cover, 6 little pop pins, ripper on off of there, and then going back down to both of these sides have to come off just to get to it. Seems like a lot of work, really isn't. Pretty easy to do, and I got it done quite quickly. So I ended up leaving one of them hanging because I didn't see any real reason to kind of take it off. It was just fine hanging there. Man, I miss this thing. After that, you know, getting the light out was pretty simple. This little black tray here on the bottom is a little tight. I would not try and bend it, but I took out these 2 8mm nuts on the side here, which allowed me to kind of pull it down just enough to kind of weasel the light out of there. Worked out fine. Safe way to do it. Putting it in, plug and play. What's kind of cool is Kawasaki has used the same exact light for many bikes, like a Ninja 400, probably the 636. So these lights are quite common, and obviously there's multiple connectors on here because it'll fit multiple bikes. So you don't need to use these 2 little ones. We have these larger ones we're going to use. That's how we plug it back in. So once you get, you know, the light plugged back in, the next part is kind of, I put a lot of it back together. I figured it would be a little bit easier so that this one side fairing isn't just dangling anymore, and left the right hand side off. And for the most part, now we just need to install the license plate light, and then we had to go for the relay. So license plate, pretty cool. TST with this kit gives us a, wait, one over. Oh man, I missed this. This is such a fun corner. So the kit actually comes with this piece of paper that you kind of tape on here real quick. Once you fold it in the middle, it gives you the perfect spot, and then you could just, like on the video that Bart did was pretty rad, because all he did was heat up some needles and poke them through, and then you go to the top end and drill down from there. Pretty simple. And of course, I will link all the TST videos down below. There's actually like 4 of them to complete this job, so that's why I'm kind of like narrowing this down to a riding video versus doing a full installation for you guys, because obviously adding all these videos together and showing how to do it really well would make a very long video. And let's face it, Bart from TST Industries already made very solid videos, so I will link them down below, which ones will do what for you. But after getting that license plate secured in there and ready to go, run your freaking license plate light through. I don't know like where you live, you know, having this license plate low like this may not be legal for you, but the one thing I'm pretty positive about is if you don't have a license plate light at all, it's illegal in pretty much every state. So you do need to have this. One less thing to keep you from getting pulled over. Plus, let's face it, at night, that really lights up the back of your bike. So to install this, I found these. I mean, I've known about these for a long time, but let me tell you, before, these things used to be for $4 to $7 a piece. So I would never use them, and I kind of learned how to solder. But now that these things are like crazy affordable, I think this full kit was only like $22, $24. There's like 300 or something pieces in here. Absolutely crazy. This is the way to connect wires, the safest, the most secure, the most waterproof, the most airproof, and best way to do it for sure. So really, it's pretty easy to just cut this one connector right off of the old Fender that we're not using anymore. So a pretty easy thing to do. Just put these two connectors together, light up the solder in the center. You'll watch it just kind of melt, connecting both of those wires perfectly, and then the rest of it is basically shrink wrap. And I think at the ends here we even have another thing that helps seal even better than shrink wrap. So very, very cool. Best connectors. Don't ever solder again. There is no point when you have cool stuff like this that is better than any solder tape job you're ever going to do. So now that we got our light turned on, obviously we need to be testing this stuff as we go, just to make sure before we put all this back together and figure out that none of it works. So make sure you're testing the whole way through, guys. You never know, especially with this rear light. It only works one way, so you got to make sure you're doing the right wires, making sure you're connecting the right wires. And the way I did that was basically plug in the connector, strip everything, plug in the connector, and then just hold each lead together with the bike on to see which left and right cable will connect to, will actually make license plate light work. So pretty easy to do, but make sure you do that before you put it all together and solder it all together, or use these little connectors. So that would be getting that license plate light and getting it on. The next and last thing we're going to do to the motorcycle is to get this relay in. I honestly believe you need to have this relay for multiple reasons. One, the reason why we went for the license plate light is, one, it's safer, yes, but more importantly, if you don't have one, it's a reason for a cop to pull you over. The next reason would be, if you don't have this relay and your lights are flashing rapidly like that, it's another reason for a cop to pull you over, because now he knows you have a turn signal out. He may be wrong because you just chose to be cheap and not buy this relay, but it's another reason to get pulled over. Plus, the way they work looks way the hell better in my opinion. So I would suggest that you go for it. It's very easy to do. You can see it hidden right under the left top cowling, so even when it's on, you'll see the relay in the bike. So that's the relay you're going to pop out. Very easy. Slide your finger under there, push up on it, and it will slide right off that little metal bracket. After that, all you got to do is just take off the little rubber boot, put it on the TST one, plug it in, and slide it back into play. Now, I did find running my hand under the bottom of the bike, up by the triple tree, you can get your whole hand up there. You can hold the connector with your left hand and hold the relay with your right hand, connect it, and slide it on in. It made it much easier to do that. So that's getting the relay on, which is freaking cool. Like I said, I think it looks freaking awesome. This is probably, in my opinion, the cleanest and best kit you're ever going to get for this ZX4RR. But that's kind of the thing with TST in general. Like, they always kind of step outside the box. Like, definitely, no doubt, a lot of states, you can't have a low mount license plate. You actually have to mount it up by the bike. It has to be not bent towards the bike. There's so many different regulations, rules, things that depend on your state. Where I live, I have never been pulled over for having my license plate down like that. I like the fact that they give you the option. You can choose. Do I want to maybe put this in a spot that I might get messed with the cops? Or is the company just going to like only give you one option and set it up top, a big bulky metal bracket with some very terrible looking turn signals? Yoshimir. A lot of them don't, you know, make good rear fender eliminators in my opinion. The only way to get a really truly good one, TST Industries. I've been buying them for years. I've put them on every single bike I've ever owned. After that, they're just putting the bad boy back together, and obviously look at the way this thing looks. It is freaking fantastic. These lights look amazing. One other really cool thing, so like there's a little button on the back here that you can push, and it'll cycle through all these different ways that you could look at the turn signal or make the turn signal go, which is pretty freaking rad. You can have it going fast, you can have it going slow, you can have it like kind of running to the right, so if it's a right turn signal, it's really truly like signaling to the right but also moving to the right, like kind of like a set of cop bar lights. Pretty freaking cool. I like that, especially with it being integrated into the tail. I would say buy the whole kit, go through the process, not that difficult. I'm freaking loving it. I'm glad I put it on my bike. I hope you enjoyed the video. I know I've got a couple more coming up for the ZX4RR. I am going to show you guys how to pull the ECU. We're going to send it in, get it done, and put back on the bike. I will show you guys step by step how all that works. And of course, I've got some more lights and mirrors that are coming for the 4RR. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you guys next week. Bye!